This episode is sponsored by SmartVestor. Connect with an investing pro for free at RamseySolutions.com/invest. You're listening to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires, where we talk investing, retirement, building wealth, and outrageous generosity. Michael is up next in Sioux Falls. Michael, welcome to the Ramsey Show. How are you doing?
Good. Hey, George and Jade, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
So I have two sons, one 16, the other 17. They're both in high school working part-time jobs. They are using every dollar to budget every month, and they're doing a really good job for saving for vehicles. My 17-year-old has paid cash for two separate vehicles.
Wow.
And yeah, so he's working really hard. The problem is the savings accounts they have are earning 0.01% interest.
Yeah,
they're
that
interested
sucks.
in earning more, and they're even talking about investing. But I don't know. They're both talking about going in the military, and I don't know if investing is the right option now, if they should be looking at a money market or a high-yield savings account, or what they can do to better maximize the savings that they have so that they have a little bit more available to be able to apply it towards school or a vehicle or any other expenses.
Great question. And I applaud you as a father for raising some bright young men. We need more of that in today's world.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's separate this out. So there's savings and there's investing. So let's talk about savings first. Savings is for your emergency fund and for short-term goals. So they need to be thinking out a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, what are the expenses we're going to have that we'll need to cover? Maybe that's last month's deposit on rent. Maybe that's upgrading car. Maybe it's a maintenance fund for the car with a sinking fund. And outside of the emergency fund and those kinds of savings goals, long-term is when we talk about investing. That's more of like the 5+ year horizon. And I think both are good things to start coaching them on and get that muscle get those muscles built. And so you're right. On those savings accounts, you can do way better than 0.01%. And right now we're at record highs in savings accounts with, 4 or 5+% in a high yield savings account. So I would move their savings there and help them open one of those.
There's some really great ones.
I don't know. Can they open one for themselves, Jade? I'm trying to think if it's custodial still
17,
until 18.
17, I think, is still custodial. So
like a minor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think your name would still have to be on it.
Okay.
So I would definitely move their savings to high yield savings account. You can have them do a starter emergency fund. I mean, these guys are about to be adults real quick. And so having a few $1,000 saved is great. Beyond that, since you said they're working part-time, they have earned income.
Yep.
I would also help them start funding a Roth IRA. And that's not tied to an employer. Okay. That's an individual retirement arrangement is what that stands for. And you can work with a SmartVestor Pro on that. You can reach out to one of those folks on our website, RamseySolutions.com. There's also DIY options, through like Vanguard and Fidelity, but that's a great way. They can, I think it's $7,000 for
$7,000 this year
is the contribution limit, and so they can contribute up to $7,000. If they made $7,000, they can contribute up to $7,000, and if they made more, they can it's still $7,000. But you can't contribute $7,000, but you only made $4,000.
Sure. Would it make sense for them to follow the baby steps and do the 15% at this age, or because they have additional funds, they should just go as close as they can to maxing it out while still having the emergency fund and doing some of that other savings?
I think it really depends, kind of like what George laid out with those other short-term goals.
Do they have education expenses to cover, for example?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
Okay.
What's on the horizon? What do you see for both of them as far as educational expenses or even living expenses, whether it's rent or – because that's going to inform a lot of this as well.
Moving expenses, who knows?
So right now they're both talking about going in the military, and if they do that, it'll be 4 to 6 years, and so all those living expenses, everything else will be covered, their health insurance, so they won't have any of those expenses.
Wonderful.
If they don't, my 17-year-old is talking about going to like a trade school.
Okay.
And so the expense won't be nearly as much as the 4-year.
So although if they do the military route, that's 4 to 6 years where it's covered. That's also 4 to 6 years where they can be socking away money for a down payment when the time comes. And so, and also, kind of blending what George said with what you're saying, if you did choose to start helping them put money away, you could also think, okay, maybe down payment is the next thing that we're going to do. Because when we think about the baby steps, because you said, can we apply that to them? Baby step 3 is getting 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. For them, that's going to be something very minimal. So maybe they've just got some money set aside, and it's there. But if they start saving for a down payment, that's something, because the horizon is 6 years from now. You could throw that in an index fund and let it grow for the next 6 to 7 years or more until they're ready for it. If you're not quite ready to get into that retirement building phase with them.
Perfect.
So you've got options.
And you can do that in a non-retirement account.
That's
like
right.
a taxable brokerage account, and just put that in some index funds for the next, 4, 5, 6 years as they're in the military. I mean, that could, with compound growth, it's going to start to take hold after a few years. But their savings rate right now is really what's going to be the ticket.
Yeah. That way they can get to it if they want to, and there's no penalty associated.
All right. Awesome. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Right. These are fun conversations to have when it comes to a 16, 17-year-old, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, no debt. It's amazing what parents can do to set their kids up for financial success.
Yeah.
Instead of the hacks I've been seeing on social media, Jade, which is you should get a credit card and add your 3-year-old as an authorized user so that when they're 18, they have an amazing credit score so they can go out and get as much debt as they want. Parents, do you understand how dumb this is? And here's what happens most of the time. The parent ends up making terrible financial decisions and tanks their kid's credit score accidentally. When the kid's 18, they got a 500 credit score.
I'm like, if you're gonna do anything, just take $50 or $100 and just set it aside in a brokerage account for them. If you're gonna do just set some money aside. Why's it got to be attached to credit?
Well, your
that
toddler
makes no
being
sense.
an authorized user is the real wealthy hack, Jade. It's what the wealthy people do. Thanks for tuning in to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires. To learn more about investing, visit RamseySolutions.com/investing or click the link in the show notes. Ramsey Solutions is a paid non-client promoter of participating pros. Learn more at RamseySolutions.com/SmartVestor.